Alright, welcome back to Demon Slayer Anime Review, Episode 37. We're here discussing the very first part of the Infinity Castle movie for Demon Slayer. Yep, that is literally what we're talking about here. This movie, from what I can tell anyways, it looks, I can tell basically that the movie covered three great fights and started another one. So, those of you curious about the Infinity Castle stuff, so it started with chapter 140. But the thing is, the movie does not adapt the entire story. Oh no. But for some weird reason, and I have no idea why in the world, that the way they promoted this movie, I don't know if I'm going to blame this on Crunchyroll for this. I'm going to blame Ubisoft for this. Where, okay, so the movie itself, it just referred to as Infinity Castle. Despite the fact this actually is part 1 of 3, covering this epic story. An epic story that started with chapter 140 and wrapped up with, well, with the main stuff with 183. Now, you're probably thinking, does the movie cover the whole arc? No, it does not. Excuse me. The final manga arc itself takes up chapters 140 through 205. That is literally exactly what this movie covers. Actually, that's what the arc covers. So, our three fights we have seen in the movie. We have Shinobu versus Doma, Zenitsu versus Kingu, and Tanjiro and Giyu versus Akiza. The start of the fight of Kano versus Doma. I say the start because they don't actually go through this one. There's stuff with... Now, in the case of what, there's a lot of stuff had this movie. We have all the Slayers still falling for what happened in the episode that aired last year. Where we have the Stone Hashira and we have the Wind Hashira. They end up together in one of the areas of the castle, and they're just running across the place, slicing a bunch of low-level demons, and that's all they do here. Yes. There is also the Love Hashira. Love Hashira. She's awesome. And the Snake Hashira, who obviously has got a thing for her, and she feels the same way. They're kept together, and they basically run the whole place. They don't really do anything. The Stone Hashira is seen slice up demons. His brother is looking for him. Yeah, that's all these characters do the whole movie. Well, we do get a little bit of thing with the Stone Hashira, where he actually explains the whole thing with the Master of the Core, with the whole thing happening at the end of the last episode we saw that happened in the final episode of the Hashira arc, which there is no denying. The 5-minute walking sequence of Muzan walking to the Master's house is an amazing sequence and should have received an award by I think that arc did receive some awards from Crunchyroll. But if you want to basically nominate basically a sequence as like the best anime sequence the whole year, it's probably going to be down because that looks awesome. So, plus this movie, by the way, the movie itself, it is roughly 2.5 hours, this movie. And the cover is roughly about 19 chapters. Before I continue the movie, I was going to go for a 3 o'clock show in my area because of the movie, but sold out. Didn't know it was going to be that quickly. And I got the 5:10 showing. Got there, no problem. Get 5:10. Movie hasn't started yet. Movie's not started at 5:13. And then people in the theater waited 20 freaking minutes for the main movie to start because they practically threw every single trailer at the wall. I'm like, oh my gosh. I kept saying to the screen, like, I'm sure people can hear me say this, can we please watch the damn movie already? One of the basic movies I'm definitely looking forward to, though for some reason no dub for it yet, the Chainsaw movie that's supposed to come out later this. I think it's supposed to come out. I think I heard it's going to release. I think it's going to release next month. I believe it is. Yes, release 2 next month. Because they, like, so. Yeah, lots of trailers. Like, one movie they showed, I'm like, not interested. It's with Emma Stone. Great actress she is. But it's like, oh, she's a corporate executive. And then she's randomly kidnapped by 2 random guys because they think she's an alien. And I'm looking at the trailer, I'm like... And they also shave her head. And they put white powder on her. And they keep thinking, oh, she's an alien. And they're part of the human resistance. I'm like... And movie involves bees. I'm like... What the heck is this? Yeah, it just... Wow! Why the heck was this shown? Yeah, at least it didn't have a trailer for Fantastic Four. Because that's been out for like a month now. Thank God they showed that. So, back to the movie itself. Oh, and the movie itself also includes flashbacks that were seen in the show itself. Like, there's a flashback to the very first episode of the series. Which, yeah, there's a flashback to that. There's a flashback to a little bit of the Mugen Train movie. Yeah, that gets actually... The fight between Tanjiro and Azu, basically, that's actually a follow-up to that movie. Which, by the way, that movie came out 5 years ago. Can you believe that? And this movie broke the record Spirited Away, basically, at the time. Yes. So, Tanjiro and Ginro basically got together. Of course, they found some love demons. And before I continue with this, we had the first major fight. We have Shinobu versus Doma. Yes, this fight in the manga was only 3 chapters. It's a great scene in the end in the movie. It is so good. Now, I had heard that they were going to have Channing Tatum voice basically at the end of the movie. It's not this guy. Oh, no. This guy, Doma, is voiced by Stephen Fu. Yep, though he technically made an appearance in the anime with episode 45. And there's a bit of flashback in this one. Oh, gosh, there's tons of flashback for this one. So, the flashback is this, the fact that we actually have Shinobu's sister. We see her in a previous flashback with her in Kano. So, the flashback is we see her dying and give a description of basically the demon who killed her, which of course was Doma. We kind of see basically the death. And her kind of want to live in their own life. And of course, Shinobu, when she sees him, like basically eating humans. And we got also his backstory too, where apparently like, oh, he was head of this group who basically preached about like eternal paradise. It's like several characters in the movie get so much flashback. But it's good, it develops the character for some who we probably never seen before. So apparently he was worse of a child. Apparently the way he gave happiness is by killing them and leaving their bodies behind. Or at least their bones. So, when he sees Shinobu, he doesn't know who she is, but he's like, do you remember my sister? He has actually, he has probably reaction like, I've ate a lot of humans. Do you remember this coat I'm wearing? He's like, oh yeah, I do remember that coat. She used the fire breathing, which some of your basically sister did. And then these two fight. Like, And she uses many techniques, poison techniques on him. And he keeps telling her, just chop my head off. And she tries. It's excellently done in this movie. It looks awesome. The whole flashback stuff with Shinobu and this demon doesn't take up much time. Oh my gosh, this takes up roughly a few minutes. The fight itself is a good 5 to 10 minutes of the movie, which ends with Shinobu being defeated. Yeah, and then she's killed, and then Kanosh comes in right after she's killed, and her body absorbed by Doma, who leaves behind her hairpin. Though what happened to her code is, well, it kind of blew off. And Kano tries to start his fight with her. By the way, in case you're wondering, what is Inosuke up to? Well, you see him running about. He doesn't do much. Yeah, despite the fact he's seen in 2 scenes, one in flashback with Tanjiro, he literally does nothing except talk. But yeah, it's like the whole thing with Shinobu, with Kano and Doma, they adapt the start of that arc, but they don't go any further. It's like when they get back to this a little bit later. Yeah. But then we have where Shinobu's killed, and then of course everybody's informed about it via the special crows, thanks to Yozen. I think he's actually the assistant to that female doctor who's actually holding back Muzan, who's basically in this secluded building somewhere in the Infinite Castle. Oh, by the way, we do see the fourth upper demon, where she is still in the same place that she's always been, just have her hair tied to the wall, and just changing the shape around with the Infinite Castle. Despite the fact these battles are wrecking the damn place. Oh my gosh. There's like tons of buildings destroyed, which, yeah. And they do explain basically, prior to all this happening, that a lot of the stuff in this movie was pre-planned. Like, the Hashas being close to basically where Muzan is, and having the cores in all grouped together locations, so when they fall in the Infinite Castle, they're together, not separated in their own battles. And we see them actually fighting lots of low-level demons. And they're basically buying time for the Hashira to get to Muzan and probably the upper demons, because they need to save their strength for the upper demons, not for these low-level demons that the other Slayers can go through. No problem. And the guys, is the fruit of our Hashira training. Yep, in the case, and also we see, and we thought now it was stated in the final episode that the Master Core just blew himself up with his wife and his kids. But actually just 2 of his 3 kids, because he also has a son, who does not have the stuff that he has. So he uses the ability with 2 other girls who look like sisters, but I think they're just maybe other kids he has. So he has this little thing on his head. And they're basically taking time to draw the entire Infinite Castle, which is so cool, the fact he did this. Heck, there's even a brief flashback. You see him as a ghost in the movie. Same thing with Shinobu's sister. So they're drawing everything, and of course they keep everybody up to date with what's going on, which is really cool. And the only reason why Muzan doesn't know anything about this is because he's being distracted by the female doctor. So then of course, then we have Inosuke versus Upper Six. Upper Six is a man by the name of Kaguru. This arc in the manga was only 3 chapters. Yes. And there is a ton of development for this thing. At least this is another one where, oh yeah, this upper demon has history with Zenitsu. Doma has a little bit of history with Shinobu. The only history he has with her was the fact he killed her sister. In the case of Inosuke, he trained with this man in the Thunder Technique. And it was like, oh, he's an upper demon, basically sent back up because he's not Hashira. But Zenosuke basically is holding his own really well. I got to at hand to Zeno Robinson. He does an amazing job with this character in this movie. Is awesome. High praise for him. And also, of course, the actress who voices Shinobu. Shinobu herself is voiced by Erica Hatcher. Great job voicing her. She did an amazing job in this movie. It is just awesome. Her sister, which I think this movie is not her first appearance. She's voiced by Bridget Hoffman, which I think this may have been May's first appearance in the series since the rebuild training arc. Yeah. And this whole fight between Inosuke and Kakeru, where basically bring the training, we bring back his master, which they didn't really bring up much in the series. But he has this expression with him. He's not the coward he was early on in the show. Oh no. He has developed. His master, of course, is voiced by John DeMia. Yeah, and they don't really much reveal his fate in this series. But it's revealed that he committed Shinpakuto. Yes, he did. All because this one guy betrayed him. And get this. So apparently the thunder breathing has 6 techniques. Zenitsu knows 1. And the whole thing is showing basically their past together in the flashback, which it takes up a good period of time, but not as much as next one. Oh my gosh. Excuse me. Yeah, so, and this is a fight that lasts for a good period of time in the movie, and then, of course, he has his, the first technique, of course, he does 2 through 6 on him, which, yeah, he does, 2 through 6 on him, and then, of course, basically, you think, oh, he's defeated because he falls down, but then, of course, Inosuke basically, in Zenitsu, where he summons the 7th breeding technique, this lightning dragon, and that's what beats Upper 6. And defeats him. Yeah, he's dead. Now, if you're really curious about this guy, was this movie his debut appearance? Because I think prior to this, I don't think he'd been featured. Well, here's the thing. He made his first appearance as a human in episode 17. This movie was his first appearance as a demon. He's voiced by Alejandro Saab. Yeah. They how he became a demon in the flashback. Really interesting, basically, how much time this was spent on this. This lasted for a good, while. And with him dead, basically, not this one, Yoshiro, yeah. Where he basically heals him up. It's yeah, you were just lucky he wasn't fully developed with that one. So, and then, of course, with the Upper 6 defeated, and of course, in Inosuke being victorious, make this the first successful battle. And then, of course, you have Tanjiro and Genru just running around until Aizen shows up. Yes, the guy who Inosuke first met in the Mugen Train movie. Yeah. Asuka, which they reveal his real name. Apparently, his real name in the flashback movie is Higeju. Yes. And they reveal he was actually a criminal. Like, they found him for quite a while. And then, at one point, basically, you have Tanjiro basically unleashing his sword techniques on him. And at one point, he chops off his head, which in the movie theater, this got a applause, basically, a good job, basically. And then his body just seals up the wound, which I thought this was weird. By the way, in case you're curious, this arc in the manga took up 11 chapters. You're like, yeah, by the way, this fight started the same chapter as the previous fight was just wrapping up. Yeah. And it's like right after he gets head chopped. I'm like, how the heck is this man moving without a head? And he's flashback where apparently he had a sickly father that he was stealing money for to pay for his medical bills. Oh yeah, he was caught, and then as punishment he was beaten, given tattoos. Yes. He's like striped tattoos he's got on his arms, which had those at a period of time. And then after he let out of jail, he's attacked by 7 grown men, which he's able to defeat them, no problem. And by the way, this whole sequence probably took the longest the whole movie aside from the fighting. This took up about a half hour. It felt like I was watching a completely different movie with this particular scene here. Yes. So then basically he's found by the guy who became his master, who taught him basically martial arts, took care of his beautiful daughter, who he got engaged to, after visiting his late father, who had actually hung himself after one of the times he was caught stealing. He comes back. His future father-in-law and his fiancée are both dead, killed by a rival school. So he proceeds to walk over there and just toss a woman to the side and proceed to kill 67 men barehanded. And then he's found by moves and turned into a demon. And then he continues to kill more demon slayers. Like, this man has killed hundreds of people. And it leads to, like, present day, where he gets flashback of his former fiance telling him it's time to move on. His master and his father. And eventually the man dies. We do see Upper 1 here as well. We do see that he was actually... In case you're curious, though, it was him who made Upper 6 into a demon. Yeah. Yeah. But then eventually he is defeated and Tanjiro and Genru are unconscious. They're alive, but they're unconscious. And then, then we have all the stuff moving around with the Infinite Castle, and the movie ends with Muzan preparing to escape from his little cocoon he's been in since the start of the movie. This movie is absolutely amazing. But there's one thing bad about the movie. The fact that we have to wait 2 years for part 2. Yep. And you cannot blame Crunchyroll for this. It is not their fault for this. I told this to Abby Tribe, which, by the way, let's go briefly appears in the movie for like one scene, where she's been killed by the man who actually taught Tanjiro to be a demon slayer. So Abby was a little surprised to hear that. The fact it's going to take 2 years for part 2 to come out. I didn't tell this to Bryce Properbrook, which I'm sure he did a really good job voicing him. This is the couple scenes you see in the movie where he's like running around looking for a demon, and then he's talking to Tanjiro in a flashback about Aizen. Yeah, but otherwise though, really, really good. I enjoyed this. It was overall, like I said, really good. And the rating of this movie is 10 out of 10. Now, I heard ahead of time, people go to the movie, like, yeah, aside from like, don't spoil it, bring tissues. I did not cry in the movie. I was, I was simply just enjoying the movie because I thought the movie, because, like, you probably think the sad stuff. There wasn't a lot of sad stuff with the movie per se. Not really. Now, do I think basically splitting this up multiple movies is going to work with this particular trilogy when it comes to this particular arc? Yes, given the fact this movie looks like that Ubisoft that should made this, they must have spent a ton of money in this movie, and I do mean a ton. Like, this is equivalent to $100 million movie because how good this movie looks. Like, they put so much money into this movie. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking forward to part two whenever that comes out. Mm-hmm. Oh, and basically when Suga is defeated, we briefly see Upper One where he's like, "Oh, you failed." Huh. What are that basically surviving? Yeah. Otherwise, though, great movie. Like I said. Do I think part two will cover it at the next few fights, which is Kano and Inosuke versus Doma, Missouri and Obody, that's the Snake and Love Hashira versus Nakami. There's also Michiro, Gina, Hinya, Shimi, and Garomi versus Gisobu. Yeah, I think probably they're going to cover the rest of the stuff. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we do briefly see the Sound Hashira. Yep, he's briefly seen in the movie. And we see the Fire Hashira's father. Yep. Like I said, looking forward to basically the rest of this. I'm kind of like, is the movie that expensive that you have to wait 2 years for part two to come out? That's honestly got a really question here when it comes to that. Yes. Like in Japan, they basically, as is 50 Cast Part 1 Asa Returns, here in the US, they just simply refer to it as Demon Slayer Kimetsu Yaiba Infinite Castle. Even though that it's part one of a 3-part trilogy. I'm really hoping that we do get part two progress of that soon. I hope so. I really do. There's no, absolutely, like I said, there's no denying the fact the movie is really good. Yeah, and I know Channing Tatum recorded some lines with him. I'm looking basically who he voiced. Huh. Ryan Bartley did a couple of the. Oh, she's one of the girls. Yes. But what about so this is interesting. Okay, so Channing Tatum is Kenzo. Oh, okay. I heard he was the voice of a demon? No. So he is the voice of Azazel's master. I'm like, that is interesting. Like, of all characters, a flashback character? Yeah, and here's a little trippy with like Channing Tatum is the only Hollywood actor to voice anything for this series. Channing Tatum, his daughter are fans of the series, attended the New York premiere of this of the Hospital movie, and also met Zenitsu's voice actor Alex Lee, which I find to be really cool. But yeah, this I should put it. I probably should say at the beginning. It's a spoiler filled review. I'll put that in the title. Don't worry about that. So yeah, not much else to say about this. Can't wait for part 2 in 2 years. Yeah. So, I will see you all tomorrow for my reviews for Super Sentai, Shy Hero Sets Princesses, and Case Closed. Okay, thanks,